From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big evening, a special evening of a 1 hour broadcast on your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. The President of the United States has landed in Brussels to discuss that sixth stimulus package. We'll be turning to what happened in Brussels tonight, but from the shores of Santa Monica, California, the MSCs of third stimulus have landed. I'll go over the breaking news about those third stimulus checks. MSCs have landed. Then we'll be looking at the big exciting details of the fourth stimulus checks. They have landed as well in people's wallets. We'll go over all the incredible details across the board. Then SS300 J-Powell pivots. A major pivot on those interest rates. What does it mean for your SS300 that'll raise your benefits up about $200 a month? Is he changing in view of the looming recession? All the latest details on that interest rate pivot. The latest breaking details on CR and what the president's going to do when he returns back from Brussels next week. This is huge, and this is another opportunity across the board. Then we'll be looking at what's happening with the Build Back Better Act as the economic looming confusion lurks across the land. Oh, look at all those incredible checks, $15,000 to $80,000. Then we'll be looking at the elements of the sixth stimulus package. And tonight, yes, we have breaking news. As always on Evenings LA, a seventh stimulus package. Student loan debt forgiveness. Oh my goodness, we have those breaking news tonight. Yes, we'll be looking at the student loan debt forgiveness, major breaking news on the seventh stimulus package. Then six, heating up tonight with those economic leaders meeting in Brussels, Germany, the White House, and also France to get it out the door. We'll be looking at that solutions to the wheat, oil, and the commodity shortage as Vladimir Putin advances on Odessa tonight and the Black Sea, disrupting world economies across the globe. We'll be looking at all that as well. But we'll be starting with everything that impacts you at home, not from Vladimir Putin, but the big money from the second stimulus, third stimulus, and fourth stimulus have landed in people's wallets tonight. We'll go over all those incredible sums of money. You heard me right, third stimulus MSC landing. I'll show you how to get it in tonight's recording. Fourth stimulus landing in people's wallets. I'll show you how to get it as well. Then we'll get a preview of that student loan debt forgiveness, no less than what? 7 weeks away. It's breaking news tonight. It's a substance stimulus package for the first time in the recording of this channel. Sixth stimulus debuted on March 20th. Tonight is this. Then more details about the Build Back Better Act as the president makes another round of it, and CR. It's a big breaking details, and of course all the latest details from Brussels, where the president met with those world leaders tonight and yesterday, and we'll go over to Poland on Friday. The latest details from the shores of Santa Monica to the shores of the Black Sea. It's America's most watched show in prime time, and whether you're going to the beach or bringing a pig with you, I got you all covered. I had to include that video, and here we go. As a big Evenings LALATE brings you to the shore, it's not a waveable check, it's just a waveable pig. The big details of Evenings LALATE starts right now with all that incredible money on Evenings. And good evening, everybody. From the shores of Monica to the shores of the Black Sea, and of course, the breaking details from Brussels. I'll be turning to Brussels for your sixth stimulus analysis later in this video. But first, we're going to start with the breaking news as those third stimulus checks, MSCs, have landed. I'll go over everything you need to know. Fourth stimulus checks have also landed. I'll go over how to get those big checks. Monthly stimulus checks, MSCs, 12 months, $1,500 to $2,000 on average for 12 months. SS300, Build Back Better, CR. We got a lot in tonight's recording. Of course, the debut of that seventh stimulus package, as the White House now says it has an inherent deadline for that student loan debt forgiveness. Those details and more coming up in tonight's recording. But first, we are, of course, going to start with the Build Back Better Act. It is the fourth stimulus recon, now in the Senate, not passed into law, but passed by the House. 3 clusters of checks and 3 add-ons that pay you a lot of money. How much? At least $15,000 to $80,000. Remember that number because we're going to have that number later in the broadcast when we talk about some other package. There is 3 clusters and 3 add-ons and checks. Let's look at the incredible money in there starting right now. Cluster number 1 has hazard pay for my essential workers. 1 more year of the earned income tax credit. Then they got the CTC checks in there for the young children, $3,600, 1 more year. They got a new $4,000 check for the elder care, $4,000 of care for young children. They got the Pell Grant check, $550 for college students, and they got the $12,500 check for the purchase of a new electric vehicle, plus home repair checks for low-income families and nutritional checks for students when they're not in school. The first add-on of checks comes here for the shores of Southern California. Maxine Waters got it in there, just a little bit less than $25,000. What is it for? For the purchase of your first home. Incredible. She got this incredible sums of money in there that will be used and given to you by the federal government, or actually to the seller in the time of escrow for the purchase of your first home. Incredible. Now, when we turn to the second cluster of checks, we got even more money. In that second cluster of checks, we got home repairs to weatherize your home, and then also paid leave. Paid leave is a lot of money. $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. If you make $35,000 annual salary, that is $800 a week. And if you make $15,000, it's $400 a week. 46 weeks per year, yes, it's incredible. W-2 1099, you get it. If you don't work, but your son or daughter does work and they have to take you to the doctor's office, then they get the check. 46 weeks per year, $46,000. It's huge. The second add-on of checks comes from Bob Casey. A little bit less than $250 billion for free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. It's incredible. And that's the second of 3 add-ons in the Build Back Better Act. The third and final cluster is the seniors and the free internet checks. Free internet for all checks, farmers checks, independent contractors checks, nutritional checks, and then the seniors, lots of checks for them. Dental, vision, hearing, lowering the eligibility age of Medicare from 65 to 55, as low as that. And then the 12 Republican holdout states, there'll be a workaround plan to provide insurance to low-income or uninsured people in those 12 holdout states. Incredible. Which is par for the course when we're talking about adding checks to the recon, the Build Back Better Act. The other checks that they vow they would add in there are MSCs, IRS monthly stimulus check. Now, hold up before you get confused. This is the Build Back Better Act, the fourth stimulus package. But the viewership of this channel this week has gotten, yes, 3rd stimulus MSCs. That's coming up in a second. So let's continue with the Build Back Better Act. Those incredible checks are huge. Who would get it? The legislators represent to the viewership of this channel that the eligibility would be the same as a 3rd stimulus check. So, single individual, $75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it. Double it. Family of 4, quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, or railroad benefits, you get as well. It is not income. It's not taxable. It's offered also to adult dependents, and it goes off the most recent tax return. So if that tax return had a direct deposit, that's how you get paid, otherwise in the mail. $2,000 of first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months represents the centers to the viewership of this channel. Yes, that is 6 months, and that is a 4th stimulus MSC. Now, let's take a step back and differentiate that from a 3rd stimulus MSC, which literally came out of nowhere. If it seems like it came out of nowhere, it did come out of nowhere. In the last 2 weeks, it's formulated. And let me give you a preview of what it is. It's coming up later in this video. Where did this come from? Well, the viewership of this channel has always been told about, from me, the opportunity to get rounds of money from 3rd stimulus, 3 to 5 months. Those monies coming up later in this video. Stay at the very end. Then, in recent days, over the last 2 weeks, the viewers said, you know what? I don't want any more rounds. I just want a long duration. I want 12 months, 4 years, 3 years, 10 months. And they got it. They got it. And so they are getting on average 12 months, 1 year, $2,000 checks. It's huge. It's huge. It's more than the Build Back Better Act will give you, and it's in addition to it. And how do you get it? It's coming up later in this video. Now, that is the 3rd stimulus MSC checks. Also coming up later in this video is the 4th stimulus checks that have now landed. what's different about this is that Build Back Better Act is a bill, not law yet. This is law. It was made law by the President of the United States 4 Fridays ago. And the viewership of the channel have gotten those MSC third stimulus checks, and they've gotten the fourth stimulus checks. How do you get it? Become a member at the top of the chat. I'm coming to it later in this video. First, the breaking news about CR for stimulus. Past 3 weeks ago, by Congress, did not get a $2,000 stimulus check in there. They did not allocate the $1.5 trillion discretionary funding for a federal stimulus check, but they allocated it for county stimulus. So reach out to your local counties to learn about it or open your local news. But another ride at the pony course, because guess what? Joe Biden is back for another round of CR, even though it's not due yet. I'll tell you why. It's because of Omicron. Yes, there's an Omicron subvariant spreading internationally, and a new analyst report says that when it hits Europe, it will be wildfire. Yes, that's the actual word. There are confirmed cases in the United States, and why is this important? Well, China went on lockdown in some parts of the country because of it, but it's important because of your money. Joe Biden, last week and the week before, asked for some of the CR money for COVID. He did not get it. They didn't put it in there. So he's coming back with another round to ask for that CR money. Guess what? One of his press team members in the press corps got COVID overnight. This is the second time for her. So this is a very personal endeavor. He's out of money for COVID, for battling it, as that Omicron subvariant is spreading dramatically tonight across the land. So that is why this opportunity to potentially get another check in another Joe Biden spending bill, huge. Also huge tonight, is a major developing details about a 7th stimulus package. I'm going to leave with it right now. Yes. You're here for the first time on tonight's broadcast of March 23rd, 2022. A 7th stimulus package is now in the works, but will it land or will it fall? It is for student loan debt forgiveness. Oh boy, here we go. Liz Warren and Chuck Schumer have been advocating for this before Joe Biden was ever sworn in. And the last scene of this was the White House said they would have the education secretary analyze whether the president has the inherent authority under the Constitution to forgive student loan debt forgiveness. That analysis never came back from the education secretary, despite my advocacy to get that messaging out. And what happened? What happened is that the current situation gives us a new deadline. Huge. Why? Ron Klain, the president's chief of staff, now in a new statement obtained by LA News Today, says that the president needs to make a decision on student loan debt by May 2nd. Yes, because 25 million American students or former students have now extended their student loan debt forgiveness under COVID protocol of the White House to May 2nd. It ends on May 2nd. If the White House is going to do something, it needs to do it by May 2nd. Otherwise, their bills are due. And I'm not making that up. That's actually what Ron Klain says. He said that the Biden will make a decision about student loan debt forgiveness before they turn back on the payments. Translation, you haven't had to make payments until, well, May 2nd, 2022. And with that deadline looming, Klain says the president will make a decision by then. So, what is the breaking news tonight? Schumer and Liz Warren back on the podium saying, get it done. You just need a flick of the pen. Don't flick something else. And they said this would represent 2/3 of, and this is what they're saying tonight. They're relying on a new report that's out just minutes ago that says when you look at the situation, across the land, you can do this by executive order. You don't need an act of Congress. Let me explain what's going on. What's going on tonight is that there's a new report that's a little bit wonky by high educational expert Mark Kranowitz that says the president can modify existing executive branch legislation, including the income contingency repayment plan, that would change when you have to repay your debt. And to do that, it would become a law instantly. Well, not instantly. It would come a law within the few months if the education secretary co-signs it, which he would if the White House does it. Then if Congress tried to overdo it, let's say Republicans, they would not win because we need 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate to challenge. Wow. Breaking news on that tonight. I'll stay on top of that over the next few weeks and see if there's any changes. Again, that new inherent deadline set by the White House on that big money. Now, let's turn to the breaking developing details on that SS300 front tonight. It's huge. SS300 is the president's promise to raise your benefits up because of the COLA benchmark. Unveiled by Liz Warren during her run for presidency, then adopted by Joe Biden during his campaign run for president, and then, of course, in his platform as president, JoeBiden.com. The concept is very simple. Swapping out COLA for inflation. COLA is your current benchmark. It doesn't work. Inflation is at 8%. You want to make the swap right now when inflation is at the highest price point of a generation. If you made the swap today, you'll get $200 more per month on average. Not just this month, not just this year, but lifetime. It's huge. And then if inflation drops to 4% by the end of the year, as Jay Powell said last month, then you get another $100. That'll be SS300. So you want Joe to make that swap from COLA to inflation. How? All he has to do is call the Secretary of Social Security Administration, say, swap that COLA to inflation right now. When does he need to make the phone call by and when you get in trouble? I had said earlier last week, I think you get in trouble by late April. Tonight, I don't have that co-signed agreement. Tonight, I think we're fine to early May. I'll tell you why. There's a series of new comments out by Wall Street analysts and also a series of new comments out by Fed Chair Jay Powell. Let me give you the analysis. The analysis is that Jay Powell, here, head of the Federal Reserve, his job is to get down inflation. How does he do it? By raising interest rates. What are his options? 25 basis points or quarter per meeting of the FOMC, one meeting per month over the next 5 to 6 months, or half, which is 50 basis points. A month ago in February, he said this month, March, at the meeting last week, he would do a quarter. He did it. And as soon as he did it, some of his governors, like Bullard and Wall, said, big mistake, we should have come in at 50, stronger. Hard landing or soft landing? Hard landing means hit it with a hammer, bring it down really quickly. Soft landing means caress it, bring it down slowly. Wall Street myself say do soft landing because if you hit too hard, you can go into stagflation. And that's what Jay Powell said until yesterday. Then Jay Powell said maybe we have to do half basis point because maybe we need to come in more aggressively. First, he did not say he would. He said maybe. Number two, he did say that he may have to do several meetings at half. Ouch. Now, what did he say at that FOMC meeting last week? He didn't say that, but he did say that he's trying to get inflation down to 1.9% by the end of this year. What is the collective agreement on Wall Street, and do I agree with them? First, I do agree with them. They say that Jay Powell does not have the tools. He cannot reduce inflation or move it around like he says he's doing. And they've lost confidence in him, as I did last year when I said he said inflation is going to be temporary, transitory, go back up and go back down, and it's not going to go higher than 1 to 2%. He got it wrong. When I predicted 8% and not temporary, it came in at 8 in December, 8 in January, and where is it tonight? It's likely higher as the U.S. bond traders continue to trade up that 10-year Treasury note, thinking that the 10-year Treasury note is more reflective of where interest rates, where inflation is hotter than 8%. Number one. Number two, I don't think he's going to get inflation down to 1.9% later this year. And what are those Wall Street analysts saying as well? They're saying that he does not have the tools. Why? Because they say inflation is caused by supply chain disruption. China can't get their goods to us, or our goods made in China can't get to us, and Vladimir Putin is disrupting supply of products to our partner allies, like wheat and grain and oil. If that's the case, Jay Powell can't fix it with inflation, and that means I'm fine with Joe making that phone call all the way up to about late April. The takeaway is SS300, I think is fine, or SS200, I think is fine, to late April. Early May, don't know. Then it becomes a little more problematic. I think that the SS100, the element of December, is problematic as well because Jay Powell thinks he can get it to 1.9%. I don't think he can. He originally said 4% inflation in December. That would raise your benefits up $100 a month. That would be SS300. Now he's saying 1.9%. That's $20 more per month. That's nothing. So I don't think he can get it that low. I think what he's doing is what Wall Street says. He's using his advocacy, his way of speaking. He's trying to speak it into existence because he doesn't have the tools to reduce it. For now, I think Joe needs to make the phone call. Hashtag Joe make the call. Call that Social Security Administrator head and say, make swap for COLA to inflation. Now, the breaking news tonight, if you've not been watching this channel over the last 3 days, is the following. Third stimulus MSC checks have landed in people's hands. The average payout is 12 months, $2,000. In many cases, it's a lot more months or a lot more money per month. Number two, 4 stimulus checks have landed in people's hands as well. Incredible. Now, this may sound a little confusing to you. Don't worry, I'm going to slow it down. First, I'm going to separate out one, and then we go to the next. Then we'll be looking at 6 stimulus. If you're new to this channel, let me explain. Stimulus packages overlap. They often happen at the same time. We just went over that student loan debt forgiveness. It's May 2nd. So it's going to overlap with 3rd and 4th, which I'm about to cover right in just a second. 6 stimulus is heating up as well, and that is likely in April. Why? And what is it? 6 stimulus is to prevent a recession in the United States. It's Putin-caused stimulus to deal with oil, wheat, the commodities, the banking industry, and potential default by Russia on April 4th of a $2 billion debt repayment of principal. So, 4 stimulus packages at the same time? Yes. 3rd, 4th, 6th, and potentially 7th, the White House signs that student loan debt forgiveness. In the second half of this video, we're going to go over how to get those MSC checks, which viewers have now gotten. I'll show you how to get it as well. Then we'll go over those 4 stimulus checks, how viewers have now gotten as well. I'll show you how to get it as well. Then we'll be looking at 6 stimulus and why Brussels was an important meeting today and is an important meeting tomorrow, and why it's also a confusing meeting to follow. We'll go over what happened in Brussels and what didn't happen in Brussels. Well, the latest details from the shores of that country and what the president's doing next 24 hours. The president heading to Poland next. What is he going to do in Poland and what did he do and not do in Brussels? I'll go over the latest details on that. Plus, we'll be looking at everything you need to know about those inflationary and recessionary concerns, because guess what? That's all about 6 stimulus. Those details and more as we go into big second half. But first, here's a little bit about the community page, the member community page. If you need help and you're a member, reach out to them. I'll see you back in 60 seconds. As America's most watched show for financial news in prime time goes into the second half, stay informed and stay with me. See you back in 60 seconds as Evenings LA continues. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And a big exciting detail, Evenings LA goes into its big second half starting right now. The President of the United States in Brussels for March 23rd and March 24th, and then heads off to Poland. All the latest details you need to know and what happened with that 6 stimulus package today. The latest details from the shores of Santa Monica to overseas. We'll go over a little bit more about that student loan debt forgiveness and what will be at issue in the next few days. That's the 7 stimulus package. We'll be looking a little bit more at that CR and then the J. Powell comments. Good, bad, or confusing. Then we tee up that big MSC, that 3rd stimulus check, and that 4th stimulus check, and everything you need to know about 6. It's a big second half of tonight's recording, and I'm excited to hear. Let's go over all the incredible details tonight. First, the White House now has set an inherent deadline for May 2nd. Says Ron Klain, the chief of staff to the White House, that'll decide what it's going to do. Klain says the president's going to look at what we should do to student loan debt before the pause expires, or he'll extend the pause. The pause is May 2nd, meaning you have to repay your student loan debts till May 2nd. That's what we are right now. Meantime, Schumer and Liz Warren are leaning on the efforts to try to get it done by executive order. The White House has not bought into that since day one. What's at issue? The White House doesn't agree with the analysis of Liz Warren that it thinks that a lot of people who get student loan debt forgiveness may include people who have very high paying jobs now and may not qualify. So the analysis is a little bit skewed depending on which Democrat you're talking to across the board. When we talk about Build Back Better Act, major developing details on that as a major letter written by those legislators to the White House in recent days. The President of the United States addressing Build Back Better Act in the State of the Union address, saying we need to pass it, and then in a new interview with Heather Cox Richardson says there's no way to reduce relief economic dependency or economic instability than passing the Build Back Better Act like we did with the American Rescue Plan. When you look at the CR, we also have updates about that CR tonight as the White House signals that it will tee up that other spending piece of legislation. Will it happen? Very confusing. Remember, we also have other CR versions. The House passing their economic relief package that has now been sent to the Senate, and they said they're going to merge them by bipartisanship. I don't know why the White House doesn't rely on that one. That would be an easier mix. Obviously, the opportunity to merge these two things together is very important. The White House press secretary's comment was, if we had the money for COVID, we would have spent the money. We don't have it. And then we're going to need additional funding to meet the needs of the American people. That could be potentially another stimulus check. Finally, what Jay Powell said in the last 48 hours, very problematic, and it came from the National Association of Business Economics. We'll take the necessary steps, potentially, to move more aggressively by raising the Fed fund rates more than 25 basis points at meetings and meetings. If need so, we will do so. Again, it's not an agreement, not a statement he'll do it, that he'll potentially do it. Am I worried? No. He's talked that way before. And with that, let's go right into those fourth stimulus checks. And right after that, those MSC checks. Both have landed. Four stimulus checks have landed in the hands of the members of this channel, and MSC checks from third stimulus have landed in their hands as well. We're going to go over each of them, starting right now. The four stimulus checks are great and huge and astronomical. But it may be confusing to some viewers because fourth stimulus we always thought about as the Build Back Better Act, which we know is not law. So let me explain what happened. This is why you want to watch every recording on this channel when it happens. Four Fridays ago, coming up this later this week, it will be 4 weeks ago this Friday, Joe Biden made an announcement. The announcement was buried. It was not broadcast. It was not on primetime news. It was buried in a release which I obtained. And in that announcement by Joe Biden, he announced a launch of a new grant program, an ancillary add-on to the Build Back Better Act, which you know is not law. It is not law, the fourth stimulus Build Back Better Act, but this is an ancillary piece of legislation, and it is law. And it did not need Congress, it did not need a vote, and it started to pay out. It started to pay out the following Monday. It has now been live for 3 weeks. What is it? Here we go. Let's go over all the incredible details, what you need to know if you're a member. Follow along with the membership newsletter. It was announced that Friday, and as soon as the president announced it, it went right into the membership newsletter that Friday evening. So understand, it has now been live for over 3 weeks. That is why that time element is important. More about that in a second. It's a lot of money. First, how much? 15 to 80,000. Yes, the same number that we talked about when we talked about Build Back Better early in this video. Second, what is it called? For purposes of this video, I call it the homeowner's grant. Third, whose income qualification can get it? Same as a stimulus check. Single individual, 75,000 or less, you can get it. Married couple, 150,000 or less, you can get it. Is it doubled or tripled like a stimulus check if it's a husband and wife? No, it's per household. So 15 to 80,000. What about my beneficiaries? Yes, you can get it as well. SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, you can get it as well. The qualifications are very simple. One, that you fall within the income zone that I just went over. And two, that you own a home. If you're a renter, stay with me because I gotcha. MSC, third stimulus checks in just a second. So, how do you get it? Let's go over all the details of this starting right now. First, you want to go to the top of the chat or under the pin, under the description of this video, and become a member. By becoming a member, you get the newsletter for members Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, via the YouTube alert system. And in that membership newsletter, first, you'll see the price of wheat, grain, and corn and gasoline tonight. And then right below that, the grant. It has a full, longer name than Homeowners Grant. You'll see the complete official name. Then you'll see the description. Then you'll see the income qualifications we just went over. And next, what you can use the money for. Oh, it's wonderful. Like property taxes, like home repairs, and other items only detailed in the membership newsletter. And finally, yes, a link that'll send you right into the national site, which will send you into your state site so you can apply instantly. And you want to apply instantly. It's been 3 weeks that the program is live, and yes, it's nationwide, but there's not unlimited funds. And at the time of tonight's recording for March 23rd, I'm hearing that the state of New York is now full and that they're on waiting lists. It's been 3 weeks. Every day that passes, thousands of people in your state get in front of you, so you want to get the application on file right away. So how do you do this? First, become a member at the top of the chat. Then open that newsletter. Where is it delivered? It's delivered via YouTube, not via horse and buggy or bikini-clad person with pig at the beach, or wavable check with pig at the beach, or Mitch at the beach, or any of those above. It's not delivered any other way except by YouTube alerts to members. To members Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If you sign up before that time, you will get it. It's sent out via the YouTube alert system. Apply immediately because first come, first serve. There you go. Now, MSC. Wow, where did this one come from? Now, this, folks, is a shocker. Joe Biden has sent out big money that is now paying third stimulus MSCs on top of those 4 stimulus. Let's differentiate each of these one at a time because it may be a lot for all of you to digest. First, what's important to understand is that the big money at issue is not duplicative. So you can get one and also get the other. What's at issue? We just went over those 4 stimulus checks that are for homeowners. The third stimulus MSC checks are for renters and homeowners. So yes, you can get 2 whacks at the pony rind if you're a homeowner. But if you're a renter, here you go. MSC checks. Now let's slow it down. These are third stimulus MSC checks. This is in addition to the 4th stimulus Build Back Better IRS MSC checks. These third stimulus MSC checks are now sent out by IRS, and there's no single application. Rather, it involves you getting that pen and paper and taking notes and getting ready to use that phone. Third stimulus MSC checks have been obtained by countless viewers of this channel. The average payment that the viewers have gotten is 12 months, $2,000 a month. Incredible. More than the Build Back Better Act promises to pay, which is 6 months of about $1,000 a month. Yes, it's huge. Where did this come from? It came from the members, and it came in the last 2 weeks. Let me tell you what happened. In December 2020, the pandemic was raging out of control, and I needed to get money from my viewers. So I found a way to get it. Rent, utilities, and similar items like that. Then, as late December came around, I had an exclusive document. It was a preview of what I coined the expression on this channel as the third stimulus package coming in 2021. I said, if this becomes a law, there's going to be a lot of money in here. I think I can get you $15,000. I want to train you how to get this money seen around in December 2020. So when this becomes a law, you're going to pounce. I guess I trained really well because let me tell you what happened. When it became a law in spring of 2021, the viewers didn't get $15,000. They got $40,000. I told them to get around, at the time, 3 to 4 months. So January, they got around. Last summer, they got around. Last winter, they got around 3 to 4 months. But in recent days, when I said get another round, they did something better. Here we go. They said, what round? I'll just do a whole year. Why do I need to keep on getting rounds? Just do a whole year. And they did. Viewer after viewer after viewer have now gotten 6, 8, 12, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years of monthly stimulus checks. Number 1, you don't have to be behind on the rent. Number 2, you can be in any state. Number 3, all you have to have is a pen and paper. And number 4, you can do it. So let's go over all the details of this right now. Where do you get it? You get it from 6 places. You reach out to your city hall, your city house authority. Your county hall, your county house authority. And the keywords you say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. 3 things you must do. You must reach out to all 6 places. Now, if you are a member, you're going to reach out to over 15 places approximately. Why? Because you're going to open that membership newsletter And you're going to see those 6 places, plus you're going to see over approximately a half dozen nonprofits. The nonprofits often pick up for the rent utilities and when there's problematic states. And they also do home repairs, like nominal home repairs, like a broken glass window. You're going to make those phone calls. You're not going to make one call. You're going to make all the calls. And you're going to get a no. A no is good. You're going to have about a 50% rejection rate because the 50% approval rate will be a big payday. As Johnny did, he made 15 phone calls in 1 week. He got $80,000 getting 7 items approved. The breaking details is just coming in by the minute, by the hour. If you've had a success story, send me on private message, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Here are the breaking examples of those MSC checks on this channel. March 24th, Lindsay Ramirez, $1,500 to 1 year of checks, 12 months of $1,500. Separate from 2 checks of $500 for utilities, $1,000 for rent every month for 12 months. Olivia Summers, 4 years of MSCs, yes, amounting to $150,000. I have to take a big breath to say that because that is a lot of money. Congratulations, Olivia. David Allen, member of 2 months, 9 months at $1,500. Incredible. Then we have Mr. Bean, whose heartwarming story is 9 months at $16,000. As I always said, I can't fix the car in the driveway, but I guess in Mr. Bean's case, I put a car or helped put a car in the driveway. Because Mr. Bean says, because of you, LALATE, you freed up cash. You've given me independent financial freedom. And now I can save for a car and I won't have to walk elsewhere. Incredible. He's been walking for everywhere. And now he won't because he's gotten that financial freedom. Annabelle got 6 months. Congratulations. Leslie got several months. And then the continuous stories keep on coming in. March 15th, Johnny got $26,000 of MSCs, which is about 8 months. Viewer after viewer, Brian Graves from March 14th, who got 8 months from Ohio. Just one after another. So where do you get from those 6 places and also the nonprofits? MSCs, these are monthly checks that viewers are getting, more than the Build Back Better Act, which is still going to happen, and more than $1,000 a month. Incredible across the board. Now, let's turn to the breaking developing details about that 6th stimulus so that you need to know. 6th stimulus is so important because guess why? It is going to be the biggest stimulus package of a generation. First was for COVID. Second, not law, did not become law, was to be for COVID. Third was coming out of COVID. Fourth was coming out of COVID. Then 5th is for Social Security reform. They haven't teed that up to bill yet. 6th is what we're about to cover. And then 7th has that May 2nd date for potentially the extension of student loan debt forgiveness. Wow. We'll be watching that. It's not a bill format yet either. So where are we on 6th stimulus? We are in Brussels. That's where we are. Well, I'm not in Brussels. This guy's in Brussels. He landed there on March 23rd and is going to be there through March 24th. And let me tell you, it's real dramatics, but it's also maybe real confusing. It's to discuss the biggest stimulus package of a generation. And it's not with all the countries he's meeting. I'll explain why. It is the trifecta of 3 countries: the United States, France, and Germany. Joe Biden flew to Brussels to meet with a lot of other people, and those other people may confuse you. Let me tell you why. In flying to Brussels, the President of the United States met with the leaders of NATO allies, G7 and European Union members. What's at issue is that they're not all part of this. And so while you don't hear him talking about it, I told you you wouldn't. Moreover, you did hear in the last 24 hours, Hungary saying, don't try anything, we will veto it. That's not for us. That is for the European community. So very, very interesting across the board. Let's go over the details of what's at issue. What's at issue is that we cannot go into recession. We will go into recession if the price of bread continues to grow to $6 a loaf, if the price of gasoline continues to stay at $6 a gallon, if the U.S. banks go into potential economic turmoil, if Vladimir Putin defaults on April 4th, if China becomes sanctioned by the United States, and if any other economic uncertainties by Vladimir Putin surface. A lot? It is a lot. So let's go over the details starting right now. It started 2 weeks ago when Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State under Joe Biden, met with Germany and France, said, get off those Russian products. They said, we can't. And when they said they can't, then they pivoted and said, you know, you're right. We can't be economically dependent upon Russia. We'll get off those products. And when they said they get out economically off of them, they also said they'll debt spend. They'll debt spend and give out money to their citizens because the citizens cannot afford these levels anymore. I was the first to record this. Day one of the invasion. You can't sustain these prices, gasoline or bread, through the month of May, or we go into 2 years of recession. You got to fix it before then. The first item fixed was oil. The White House got that major deal on oil last Friday. Let me go to the details of that oil deal. The oil deal will flood the market internationally with oil across the land starting in about April, if not May. And that oil will be massive quantities that no one thought could be potentially possible. But it was a result of nearly 15 years of negotiation by the White House. With which country? Yes, Iran. The Iranian negotiations have now been formulated and they're likely to be signed into law within minutes. Let me tell you what happened. The White House understood that the biggest provider of gasoline that could solve the situation is Iran. Let me tell you where this started. It started when Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine. When he invaded Ukraine, then Russian oil was no longer part of the equation for the Allies. Not an issue for us, where only 3% of our oil comes from Russia, but a big issue internationally. That is why when there's less of something, the price goes up. So even if we don't import from Russia any oil, if our partner allies, let's say Germany, don't use Russian oil, then our oil goes up. That's why you're paying more at the pump. The way you get the oil back down in price is you flood the market, not just the United States, but internationally, to bring down the price. We've seen big volatility in the price of gasoline and Brent crude internationally in the last few days. Now, while the price of gasoline at the pump has remained relatively high, Brent crude has fluctuated in the last 7 days, all the way down to 196, I think, last week, and then back up to 118, back down a little bit today. It's been all over the place. Why? They're just trading on the news. But what I want to tell you is that you should be ecstatic. This Iranian deal amounts to basically a solidification of something called the JCPOA, which has been in talks since 2015, which would involve Iran ending its nuclear proliferation in exchange for the United States ending its embargo for oil. Case in point, 1.3 million barrels per day, you heard me right, per day, would flood U.S. markets and international markets by December, and 500,000 by April or May. This will bring down the price of gasoline to its lowest levels of a generation. You need that because guess what? Our partner allies like Germany actually have an entire dedicated pipeline coming from Vladimir Putin. And if they wake up one morning and see that Vladimir Putin turned off the pipe, guess what? They go into recession. And we do as well. And I'm not making this up because Putin has threatened to turn off Germany's pipe of gasoline. So the White House anchoring that big deal, and the deal would involve the exchange of $530 million of debt that has been held in British hands for decades, that is owned by Iranian officials, and then the release of a British national that has been detained in Iran for years to come. Great news on that deal. It is not formally signed, but it is officially agreed upon. The second part of the equation is a little bit more problematic and involves wheat. You can solve one part of the equation, but you got to solve them all. If you solve oil and you get the oil prices down, then you got to solve wheat. The wheat problem is deeply worrisome. Let me tell you the situation tonight. The situation tonight is that the wheat prices, grain and soybean and corn, are at the highest levels of a generation, 10-year high. Why? Because Vladimir Putin is circling the Black Sea towns of Odessa and neighboring towns that are agrarian export communities. Countries like Egypt import 80% of their wheat from Ukraine. If, again, a commodity is not available in the full capacity in the international markets, then what we pay at home goes up through the roof. And that is why wheat has gone up. I know we have farmers here, but the wheat that provides internationally to our partner allies like Germany and France is no longer available. And what happens? That means our wheat, our bread at the supermarket is heading up. You don't want to pay $6 a loaf for a bread. That is what would happen. And that's what would send us into recession. The problem with the wheat situation is no inherent solution formulated or suggested by the partner allies. Here's the problem. Those farmers in the Black Sea are battling Vladimir Putin. They're holding weapons, not farming instruments, to defend their country. And they're defending their country while their wives flee to Poland. Guess what? There's no crops. And then guess what? There's no crops next season. They're not preparing the soil for next season. And that would send you into a recession. And that recession is just weeks away, folks. So this is why the partner allies need to debt spend and give money to their citizens, as Vladimir Putin's acts of aggression continue moments after moments. The next part of the equation is, of course, China. An intelligence report obtained earlier this week suggested that Vladimir Putin reached out to China and asked for money. The United States and the partner allies have sanctioned Russia. And what did Vladimir Putin say? China, give me money so I don't have to burden myself with these sanctions. The White House met once, twice with China for nearly 14 hours in 3 meetings in 1 week. And guess what? No deal with China not to pay money to Putin. Both sides, China and the United States and Putin, confirmed that the communications occurred. But at the moment, there's no deal from China. Why is this big for your money? It's big because guess what? If China gets 1 penny to Putin, get ready for the sanctions against China. And this is a major world economy, and that would send your products through the roof. Now, China's having other problems. Supply chain, because of COVID. That subvariant is big time in China. That's causing major lockdowns, and because of that, China is trying to deal with that stability. And the other problem is that China is no longer an investable economy. World bankers, and especially U.S. bankers, are advising their clients not to invest in China because Xi is so temperamental. They're worried you could wake up one morning and the investment could be gone. The other part of the equation, of course, is Vladimir Putin. And April 4th, Vladimir Putin has a $2 billion principal debt repayment. He's not going to make the payment, in my opinion, my prediction. This is unlike March 16th when he had 2 interest payments less than $100 million, which he believed to have been paid. This is $2 billion on April 4th, and if he doesn't pay it, here we go. Let me tell you what happens. What happens is there's a major problem for the White House, and that major problem would involve trying to solidify any type of stability with the banking industry. The issue at hand is that if the banking industry becomes destabilized, then the White House needs to step in. Why would the banking industry become destabilized? Let me tell you why. Because the banks, for amounts we do not know, have investments in Russia, debt and equity. And those investments are deeply troubling to the White House, and certainly to me. Because if a bank goes under, a major U.S. bank, or at least has a major line item loss for a Russian debt or equity investment from Q2 or Q3 or Q4 corporate earnings reports this year, boy, your local bank could have major problems. And Joe Biden's seen this. He saw it as day one as vice president when he had come in under the Biden administration, the Obama-Biden administration, to bail out the banking industry. So this is very problematic, and it's a very changing event by the hour. What you need to know is that Vladimir Putin's casualties in this war are growing by the hour. A new report says that Vladimir Putin's lost 40,000 Russian troops. Now remember, in October 2020, last year, I told you that this would be the biggest economic story of 2022. And at the time, I said there's 100,000 Russian troops at the border. So Putin has not delivered more troops. He's lost nearly 50% of his troops to date. He's also lost his economy, which has fallen from number 10 on the globe to potentially the next Cuba. And the issue at hand is what could be next for our wallets. Let's recap where we are tonight with so many changing, developing details. I want you to understand them as well. First, what's important to understand is that a lot of stimulus packages overlap. If you're new to this channel, one stimulus package does not mean it precludes another from starting up. They overlap. Where are we tonight? Third stimulus checks, MSC checks, are paying out. The average payment is $2,000 for 1 year. There's no single application, and it comes from your city, county, state, nonprofits, or mixture of them. It involves a pen, paper, and a phone. And the membership newsletter helps you to get that information across the board. Rejection's good. A no is good. You're going to have about a 50% rejection rate, but you're also going to have 100% satisfaction when you get those MSE checks. We have incredible viewers like Johnny, who got $80,000 of checks by making 15 phone calls and getting 50% rejection. Embrace rejection and also embrace the telephone. Make sure you make lots of calls. No single application. Just make the phone calls. Then, fourth stimulus sent out by the President of the United States, landing in people's hands. Mark getting $63,000. Countless other viewers getting their applications approved and now just waiting to be funded. It's a fourth stimulus add-on which embodies the true spirit of this channel. You need to hear the program as soon as it goes live. You can't miss a recording. day and night, because guess what? The program may be out of money. I've been featuring programs like this since day one of this channel, which is approaching its 2-year anniversary on April 25th, 2022. And I've often said, it's here today, it could be gone tomorrow. You have to move quickly. And in the case of this 4 stimulus checks, absolutely. Become a member. The link is at the top of the chat and in the pinned comment. If you join by 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday, you'll get the newsletter. That's 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time or 9 o'clock Central. It's sent via the YouTube alert system to members across the board. Open it and get ready to apply. Remember that there's nothing addition or surprising that's not covered in today's recording or in that link. So if the link says do it this way, you do it. Don't hear, breathe, or think about something you hear externally, because it's likely not the case. Then, the big surprising detail were those Ron Klain statements now released from the White House, obtained by LA News, says that May 2nd is an inherent deadline to make a decision by the White House, extend the student loan debt repayment grace period, which is currently on frozen mode, to May 2nd, or make a decision on student loan debt forgiveness by something. Interesting. This is the 7th stimulus package, and we're just days away from it. And then finally, the 6th stimulus package. 6th stimulus package may seem confusing to some people, but here's what you need to know. The White House went overseas for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is to show the resilience and the reserves of the NATO alliances militarily against Vladimir Putin. But he also went over there to shore up the economic allegiances of the United States, Germany, and France. Germany's leader, chancellor, is a progressive. Joe Biden is a progressive, and the leader, the president of France, Macron, is also progressive. He's up for re-election on, yes, early April. If he's re-elected, that trifecta is ready to rock and roll. What I want you to know is that other countries have talked about things like, we're not getting off of Russian products, and they're part of the European community. They don't impact this stimulus at all. They are countries like Hungary, which has nothing to do about your money at home. Finally, understand that not only would it be internationally, nationally of Joe Biden, but also on a state-by-state basis. The very first recording I made about this big 6 stimulus, which I believe was March 8th, 2022, was that night solidified and confirmed by states. States will be doing their version of 6 stimulus. Things like not having to pay taxes on the gasoline at the pump for several months to come or something like it. Watch your local news to look and see what your states are doing, and with that across the board. So much details across the board and throughout the night. I'm excited you're here. Finally, as this channel approaches its 2-year anniversary on April 25th, 2022, I look back on what we've learned as a family tonight. We have learned that often programs go live and the money's there and then it's gone. Case in point, the state of New York for that 4 stimulus checks went live 3 Fridays ago, approaching 4 Fridays ago later this week, and now it's closed up, only accepting waiting list. So that's important as a pouncing very quickly and getting money. Number one. Number two, it's important to follow instructions and make notes and understand what you're told. So for anyone who says, where's that website to apply for a 3rd stimulus MSC? Not what I recorded, not what I said. For anyone who says, well, does this mean we're not going to get something else? I didn't say that. And then for someone who says, oh, so they're doing student loan debt forgiveness on May 2nd. Didn't say that as well. It's important to pay attention to details. That's what this channel launched on. People had applied for certain programs at the time, grants, EIDL and PUA and things like that. And they made simple clerical errors. Routing number to account number reversed, or spelling error, or chose small business when they were sole practitioner. Slight differences they thought were not much of anything, and it caused a cancellation or non-approval of their money. It's important to make notes and follow along. And finally, the shows continue throughout the night, and I will be there with you as well. Evenings LALATE every night at 5 o'clock in prime time. America's most watched show for financial news in prime time. Then, evenings countdown at 6 o'clock. 7 o'clock is Stream Stimulus. 8 o'clock is Evenings Extra. 9 o'clock, our new hit show, Evenings Sunset LALATE. And then our shows continue throughout the night, and then I'm back tomorrow morning on early mornings at 4, and mornings countdown at 7, and mornings LALATE at 9, live on air. And with that, I thank you. I send my prayers and wishes to the people of the beautiful towns of Odessa and the neighboring towns, which have held well in recent days. I've been covering Odessa since day one of the invasion, and boy, they have been able to hold off those Russian forces. That beautiful town of Odessa is not only a cultural landmark, but also an agricultural zone that is so critical to world economies. And the resilience of the Ukrainian people has been overwhelming. We'll be watching and keeping them in our prayers throughout the night. Then, the good news is that China has dedicated massive funds of money for now for Ukrainian refugees fleeing to Poland. Our thoughts and prayers are with those refugees, which when I first made the first recording of this channel about that situation was 500,000. Then I said it could go to several million, the largest since World War II. Some analysts now put it at nearly 10 plus. Could it go to 20? The situation is very fluid across the board. No end for the war in sight, as I had predicted. This is not a several-day war, as I predicted, not a several-week war, and may not be for a several-month war. But what I am predicting is that ultimately Putin is a guy who understands numbers. And if he can't make that $2 billion debt repayment on April 4th, I think everything changes internationally for the situation of Vladimir Putin versus Ukraine. I'll watch that data, and you will as well, throughout the night and everything you need to know. For now, don't forget to become a member. Get that big money from Third Stimulus right now. Reach out to all those big places to get those MSC checks. Get them paid out. Then get that big money from Fourth Stimulus right now, as Joe Biden has allocated it, but it's not indefinite. It's for now. And tomorrow night, we'll continue from Brussels. We'll look at what the President of the United States does in day 2 from Brussels, and then off to Poland. What next could be on the horizon? And then as the President returns back to the States thereafter, we'll see what happens. From the shores of Santa Monica to the shores across the sea, and from the shores of where, wherever a pig is walking. Where's he going? Where's my bacon going? Come back. We'll stay with it. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LALATE for more every night.